Rams training camp has officially begun. We've got 7 position battles that you need to know about and monitor. And Jalen Ramsey said something very disrespectful about the Rams franchise. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, if you're new to the channel, if you're unsubscribed, if you want to support, join the party. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you're already an existing subscriber and you want to support the show, hit the like button and drop a comment down below. Podcast listeners, write a review or read it on the show. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, do some NFL radio for Westwood One. And today we are celebrating because day one of training camp is in the books. Guys are there. Guys are in uniform, in their practice uniform. You got shorts on. Yes, it's still ramping up. Not too many things that developed today, but just seeing the guys out there and Sean McVay, the excitement level with this team heading into this season, it's definitely something that is palpable. And the Rams will be at LMU for almost 2 weeks, and Matthew Stafford is going to miss the first part of the practices due to back soreness. You have Davante Adams and Puka Nacua. They're out there in practice gear, ready to roll. And as far as just some of the things we saw today, Puka Nacua did address the media. We'll talk about that. But Kevin Dotson, he was there with his Rams horns, hair, signing autographs for fans. We saw Alaric Jackson, who was expected to be able to do some individual stuff on the side. He was out there. We know his situation with the blood clots, and he won't be participating, but still he's going to be doing individual stuff. It was really cool to see Davante Adams out there holding that Rams helmet. Just feels realer than real at this point. And there was a lot of discussions with Sean McVay and Davante Adams throughout the practice, and you can tell that those two are still kind of getting to know each other, which is understandable, and it's going to be a process, but it feels like Davante Adams is going to be a de facto coach out there, and they're going to have very high-level communication, and I expect to see that. It was a perfect day, 72 degrees out there, just picture-perfect Southern California weather. And as the week moves along and the practices start to pick up, we're going to get more information and we're going to get more nuggets and more news coming out of Rams training camp. But today, I'm going to tell you the camp battles that you need to know about. 7+1. Going to throw in a bonus one. But we're going to start with the swing tackle spot. Championships are built in the trenches. And Sean McVay said earlier this week that there's a very real possibility that Alaric Jackson is going to be available to play in week 1. He's still making his way back from blood clots in his leg. The medication is taking. That's extremely encouraging, but the Rams still need a formidable and a reliable swing tackle to back up Alaric Jackson and Rob Havenstein. And you got DJ Humphries, who they brought in. You got David Quessenberry, who they brought in. They're going to be competing with Warren McClendon Jr. and A.J. Arcuri, guys that have played that role in previous years, a role that was mainly held down by Joe Noteboom when he was healthy. When Joe Noteboom was healthy, he was that guy. So there is going to be a decent amount of competition. You look at the current state of the offensive line, the number one question is Alaric Jackson's health. There's no doubt about that. But you also wonder how productive Rob Havenstein is going to be at this stage of his career. I still think he has some really good football still left in him. But sometimes with the offensive line position, you have father time that shows up, and all of a sudden guys start to decline. I think Havenstein's going to have a really good year. I think he's going to be really solid. He's solid as a leader as well. You got to rely on Big Rob Havenstein, but the swing tackle spot is going to be more valuable than ever this season just because Joe Noteboom is not going to be around. And you got guys that are emerging. My bet is on DJ Humphries. I mean, DJ Humphries, he has been really good at parts throughout his career. When the Rams signed him, it was really a move that indicated that, hey, we are not going to sit around and wait to see what happens with Alec Jackson. We're going to be proactive. We're going to make a move in the event that we need him. And he's a veteran, and he's someone that's played that left tackle spot. It's a one-year deal. If you look at the specifics of that contract, I mean, $2.34 million guaranteed, a cap hit at $2.36 million. I mean, that isn't a number that you say, oh, they have so much invested in him that that's his spot no matter what. But I do look at the upside that he has with the questions around that position. I really think he's going to have himself a really, really solid year. And I think that you're going to look back in some of these moves on the margins, and that could be the difference this season. Great teams have depth. And Humphries, he dealt with injuries last couple of seasons, and if he was healthy, you probably wouldn't have been able to get him at that price. He signed with the Chiefs in late November 2024 after dealing with that ACL injury that he suffered in 2023, and the Chiefs, they were hoping that he would take over that left tackle spot, but in his first game, he injured his hamstring. So he has been banged up, so that's the thing about him is you got to know that there is an injury history there. He did come back in Week 18. He played 32 snaps, but there was no offensive line snaps in the postseason. He didn't play that position, and he did have 9 special team snaps in the first couple of postseason games. So the Cardinals picked him out in the first round back in 2015. He made the Pro Bowl in 2021. He started 98 games in 9 seasons for the Arizona Cardinals, and I do think that he is going to want to make his presence felt, and it's a great opportunity for him. So there's that position battle, the swing tackle spot. Now let's shift over to the cornerback spot. The cornerback spot is one that I think a lot of Rams fans are going to pay very close attention to because you were expecting maybe they pick up a cornerback early in the draft. Maybe they trade for Jalen Ramsey, who we're going to talk about in a second here. Maybe Jair Alexander was someone that he was rumored to be with as an option that they didn't pursue. We know that they were sniffing around for cornerbacks, but didn't really find the guy that they absolutely needed to have at the acquisition cost. And then also, I can tell you that internally, they're confident about this group. In the Rams, they did not cut Darius Williams to try to save some money this offseason. They brought back Akella Witherspoon because of the way he finished last season towards the back end and into the postseason. And Kobe Durant is in a position to put himself into a nice little payday for him if he has a good year, because that's really his main goal, is to try to prove that he can stay in this league. He's going to be in the last year of his rookie contract, so he has a lot to prove. And then you got Quinn Lake. He's going to be someone that you're going to see there essentially every snap, mixing it up in the slot, playing a lot of different roles in this one. We know what he's capable of. Darion Kendrick, he's recovering from the ACL injury. He's back. He knows the system. He knows the culture. He knows what's expected if you're going to get valuable snaps. And then there's Emmanuel Forbes. He's the ultimate sleeper. I mean, Emmanuel Forbes Jr. could be the difference in the secondary. I still think that there's so much upside there. The ceiling is so high with him that you're going to at least give him an opportunity at some point to see if the Rams player development has hit on him, because that's essentially what it is. So you have to find out which of the 3 cornerbacks are going to get the lion's share of the snaps with Lake in the slot. It's probably going to be a competition of Williams, Witherspoon, and Durant competing for the 2 spots on the outside. So that's kind of where it's at right now. It's really those 3 guys for 2 spots. And right now, it really all depends on, has the light turned all the way on for Kobe Durant in the final year of his rookie deal? Akella Witherspoon, will the play that he showed towards the back half of last season into the postseason carry over into this season? Darius Williams is here for a reason. Can he look like more like the guy we saw a few years ago than the one we saw last year? So that's a one of the more intriguing position battles for me, just because I've always believed in Kobe Durant. I have been up and down on Kella Witherspoon just because sometimes the book on him is just inconsistent play after the start of the year. He starts strong, then tails off, finishes strong. So can you get a consistent version of a Kella Witherspoon for an entire season? That's a big question for me. But I do think that there's enough talent here to get by. And I think that the Rams cornerback group, they have a chip on their shoulder. They know that everyone thinks that they're a bottom third room. And I think they're out to prove that they could even be a strength for this team if all these guys rise to the occasion and things click for them. And certainly there's reasons why they would, as we just mentioned. But coming up next, more position battles and something that Jalen Ramsey said about the Rams that I did not like. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. What was one surprising thing you noticed when you started tracking your spending with Monarch Money? For me, it was all the times I was going to Uber Eats and ordering out with just breakfast burritos, carne asada burritos, California burritos, pizza. Yeah, I needed to chill out. So it definitely helped me manage that. And I also think, too, it helps you manage your financial goals. If you share your finances with someone, it definitely helps you. You guys can manage that together. And also, you can have all of your accounts in one place and manage all of your spending. So it really gives you a great idea about how much money you're spending, and you'll notice a big difference. I mean, have you ever looked at your spending and been surprised how quickly it adds up? Subscriptions, going out to eat, entertainment, grocery store, gas, whatever it may be, it adds up quick. So to see it all in one place, it definitely helps manage your spending, and Monarch Money is great for that. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when your moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I love it that it's completely online, too. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their website. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Also want to send a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching, listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. If you're new to the channel, new to the pod, join that Everyday Listeners Club. All you have to do is watch or listen to an episode Monday through Friday, and then you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. But before we dive back into the position battles, I just want to hit on a topic that is involving a player that we talked a lot this offseason, where Jalen Ramsey was a potential option for the Rams. He ultimately gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And today, in his first media availability session during training camp, he said, quote, "I'm excited for everything that has to do with this organization. This is a storied franchise. Obviously, I won a Super Bowl, love my time with the LA Rams, but I can't say I played for a storied franchise like this yet. So this is very exciting for me. I'm just embracing all of it, really." So this is probably a nothing burger to most people, and that's totally understandable. You could frame it the way he did, that yes, are the Pittsburgh Steelers more storied than the Los Angeles Rams? Sure, they absolutely are. They've won more Super Bowls. But to say the Rams aren't a storied franchise is ridiculous. It absolutely is. When you look at the oldest franchises in the history of the National Football League, the first franchises, the Arizona Cardinals now, 1920, Chicago Bears, 1920, Green Bay Packers, 1921, New York Giants, 1927, Detroit Lions, 1930, Washington Commanders, 1932, Philadelphia Eagles, 1933, Pittsburgh Steelers, 1933, and Los Angeles Rams. Of course, they moved here from Cleveland, but still, this is an organization that's history dates all the way back to 1937. So they are among one of the oldest teams. They're the 9th oldest team in the National Football League. You have multiple Super Bowl titles. You played in Super Bowls. You played in major markets. You've had some of the best players to ever play the sport play for this franchise. You also look at the uniform, the helmet, the Rams horns, the very first helmet to have a helmet design on it. So I think that you could definitely say the Rams are a storied franchise. I mean, of course, they've had years where they haven't had success, and you had a long stretch with a pretty inept head coach in Jeff Fisher. But still, I mean, I just took that as a little jab, triggered me a little bit, because I do think that, hey, the Rams, at the end of the day, the NFL, I don't think would be the NFL without the Los Angeles Rams, and I do consider them a storied franchise. And look, this is even more motivation to write more history. History is written by the victor, and they have an opportunity to become even more storied this year by winning another Super Bowl. So, yeah, I don't know. And the crazy thing, too, the Dolphins are a storied franchise, too. I mean, the 72 Dolphins, the only undefeated season. I mean, look, sure. The Steelers are extremely storied. No one's taking that away. The terrible towels and the yellow and black and the Super Bowls, no doubt about it. But it's not like the Rams are the Jaguars. It's not like the Rams are the Chargers. It's not like any of that. The Rams definitely have their history, and they're very proud of it. But okay, let's dive back into the position battles. Ooh, had to get that off my chest. I don't know why. A little triggered by that. Maybe it's because I'm like, okay, Jalen Ramsey didn't get traded here, but okay, I digress. Let's jump back into the position battles, and let's shift gears to the inside linebacker spot. So this is going to be interesting to try to predict, because you just don't know who's going to be the starters when the Rams open their season in week 1. You got Omar Speights, you got Chris Paul Jr., you got Nate Landman, you got Troy Reeder. Those are the guys that are fighting for that inside linebacker spot. But you also got Sean Dolak. He's someone that could make some noise. And like I said, if the Rams, out of all the teams in the NFL, they're one of the teams where meritocracy is real, where it's, hey, if you can play, we're going to let you play, and you're going to earn that role. And Dolak is an interesting name to keep your eyes on, too. So you look at the depth chart. We know how high they were on Omar Speights. You bring in Nate Landman. But this is definitely a competition that's up for grabs. It certainly is, but it's also one of the weaker position groups on the team, for being completely honest. So unless you see someone really step up, grab the bull by the horns, and just say, hey, I want this position, and he outplays everyone that's competing for him for that spot, you're probably going to see this as one of the lesser performing position groups for the Rams. But it's going to be interesting to see if they go with an upside guy or more of a veteran, someone that's played that position, guys like Troy Reeder and Nate Landman, or what I want to see is Chris Paul Jr. step up and realize the potential that he has, which is very, very high. So I'm extremely excited about what he looks like, and I'm very excited to see what the coaches have to say about him, and we'll see if he's able to make some noise. But it's a wide open competition. As far as the position groups go, it's one of probably the most wide open competition on the team. Next one will stay on the defensive side of the football. Let's talk about the edge rusher spot, because we know Jared Verse and Byron Young, those are your top two edge rushers. There's no doubt about that. The edge rushers, I think, are going to be one of the strengths of this defense. That's an ice cold take, right? We know that's certainly going to be the case, but I'm very interested to see the chemistry continue to build with those two, Young and Jared Verse. I think Jared Verse is going to be a household name at one point, face the defense for this franchise, someone that is going to get votes for Defensive Player of the Year and possibly win a Defensive Player of the Year in his career. That is his ceiling. So, nobody on this roster going to take snaps away from Jared Verse, and most likely not Byron Young. But if you look at the number 3 outside linebacker spot, it's wide open because Michael Hoyt is not on this team anymore. He left in free agency. So who will be competing for that spot? Josiah Stewart, Nick Hampton, Brennan Jackson, Kyer Thomas. Those are guys that are all going to be vying for that spot. Josiah Stewart is a name that I'm very excited to see early on in camp, see what coaches are saying about him, because he's someone that's been very disruptive throughout his career at Michigan as a senior. He transferred over, but playing for an elite program, playing for a program that knows success, lots of people internally are very high on his potential. So I'm excited about what he could potentially bring, and he's a name that it's certainly very intrigued by. I think that Nick Hampton has the familiarity. We know that. He understands the system, the culture, like we talked about. Brandon Jackson, Kyer Thompson, someone that has really kind of been in the mix a little bit too. But it's really going to come down to, do you go with the experience or do you go with the upside? Stewart doesn't have the experience because he is a rookie, so it'll be interesting. But go watch his highlights. He plays with a great motor. He plays with fire and intensity. He's a very aggressive player when it comes to pursuing and pressuring. So I think that he's someone that we are going to hear coaches rave about early on in camp. Remember the name, Josiah Stewart. Hail the Victors. Hail the Victors. What's the best fight song in college football? Is it Hail the Victors? Hail to the Victors, valiant hail. My mom's an Ohio State person. She's going to kill me once she sees this episode. But I'm all in on Josiah Stewart. I bought a condo on Josiah Stewart Island, and I think that he is going to be a name of the young players that's going to emerge early on. But coming up next, more position battles for Rams training camp. That is coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On and this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football's back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, buzz, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and Travis are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years and love how smooth the draft day experience is. Our league's been running through Yahoo for a while now. Easy setup, great mobile app, and the smack talk just hits different in the message board. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. So stay tuned and get started creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best yet. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, let's dive right back into the position battles that you need to know about, and let's continue with the tight end spot. So we know that Tyler Higbee is back, coming off the injury last season. He did get some games in. Catastrophic knee injury late in his career. You wonder if he can really play that position at a high level for an entire NFL season. at this stage of where he's at. But they also picked a tight end with their very first pick, which was the 46th pick in the draft in the second round in Terrence Ferguson, tight end out of Oregon. And they're very high on him. Sean McVay has talked about wanting 12 personnel, wanting a flex tight end, a guy that can be a red zone threat. He's someone that certainly could be in play, but I think he's going to need some time to learn that position. It's going to be a learning curve there. Learning Sean McVay's offense is definitely not that easy. It's a little complicated, so you don't want to put that pressure on him to be a week one starter, but Ferguson is going to need to battle Colby Parkinson early on in camp because that's kind of where the battles lie. You got Davis Allen is fighting to be the final tight end on the roster. He's got nice catch radius, a big body, tight end out of Clemson. Not crazy upside as a downfield threat, but I do think that what makes the tight end room interesting and what makes these battles intriguing is that they're going to respect Tyler Higbee. And I have mentioned meritocracy a lot during this episode, but Higbee, there is a little bit of, hey, you've been the guy. We're going to give you an opportunity to be the guy. That's going to be your spot to start the year. He's also just a nice safety valve for Matthew Stafford. But I also find the Colby Parkinson, Terrence Ferguson really interesting because if Ferguson beats out Colby Parkinson, what does it really say about that signing? Was that a bust of a signing, kind of like Jonah Jackson was for them last offseason? It certainly would be viewed in that light. So on one sense, you're kind of rooting for your draft pick to look really good early on and win that role. In the other sense, you're rooting for a signing to not look like a bad signing in Colby Parkinson. So one way or the other, it's kind of if Colby Parkinson wins that, you're saying maybe in year 2 with the Rams, he's going to have a bounce back season. So that's a positive. And then if Ferguson wins it, it's okay, this rookie is the real deal. And we're expecting him to contribute on a high level. So we'll be monitoring that one very closely as well. The wide receiver spot we've talked about a couple times on this show in the last couple of weeks. We know 1 and 2, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. 3, you have to believe that's going to go to Tutu Atwell because they brought him back on a $10 million contract. They're going to prioritize him some more. He has made the most of his opportunities. Really, it's about just getting the ball to him and just trying to see what he can do. We'll see how that plays out. We'll see if Sean McVay is truthful about how he's going to use Tutu Atwell, or is he just going to be a guy that, hey, if one of the top 2 guys gets injured, then he gets his opportunities. I'm very curious to see how many opportunities that Tutu Atwell really gets with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua ready and healthy and ready to roll. So that's a storyline. But as far as the competition goes, it's going to be for the wide receiver 4 spot. We know that Jordan Whittington has the inside track after a solid rookie season, rookie out of Texas, did a lot of Rams receiver-ish things, played special teams, blocked well, has strong hands. But remember the name, Kanata Mumfield. He's someone I'm extremely high on. Out of Pitt. Pitt had an awful quarterback last season. Mumfield has a lot of upside, the ability to run all the routes on the route tree, make contested catches. You also have Xavier Smith. You got Brent Covey. Those are guys that most likely aren't going to be battling for snaps. Those are more special teams guys. But I think Whittington, he's kind of one of those guys where if you go into a lab and you're building a Rams receiver, he's certainly a guy that you would come out with. And they really love him as far as his character and the fact that he's just willing to do anything to help this team. But I'm kind of hoping that Kanata Mumfield becomes a story in training camp because of his upside. And also, too, I love that name, Kanata Mumfield. I got the mumps, the Mumpfields, okay? So I like that name. But, yeah, running back is another one, too. I mean, we're going to go deeper on this as the training camp rolls along, but we know it's Kyren Williams' backfield, but Blake Corum and Jarquez Hunter, they're going to be fighting for that running back 2 spot. The difference between these 2 guys, Blake Corum is more of a, hey, if Kyren Williams has to miss time, Blake Corum can do Kyren Williams type things, bowling ball style running back, nose for the end zone. Jarquez Hunter, though, he has the potential to have explosive runs. And the Rams, one of the least explosive teams in football out of the backfield, Jarquez Hunter brings that dynamic. So that to me is very intriguing, just having that explosiveness. I'm kind of hoping that Jarquez Hunter wins that spot and that Corum, who I'm still high on to a degree, is more of a contingency plan for Kyren Williams. But yeah, I do think that depth never hurts, especially for running backs. And Kyren has been banged up at parts throughout his career, so that could happen too. So I do like this battle, though. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm very curious to see what teammates and coaches are saying about Jarquez Hunter. Another two guys that I'll recommend watching their highlight tapes are Chris Paul Jr. is a fun one, his time at Ole Miss, but go watch Jarquez Hunter, man. I mean, his college tape was definitely fun to watch. So the extra one, the punting returning role, the punt returner role could be interesting with Brent Covey, who was a Pro Bowler a couple years back with the Eagles as a special teams guy. But Xavier Smith, he made some plays last year. He's got a lot of speed, and we'll see what happens with that role as well. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. Training camp is here. We couldn't be more excited. Let's go. And tomorrow we'll be back. Travis back tomorrow, and we're breaking it all down here on Locked On Rams, the number one Rams podcast and daily Rams show on YouTube. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.